Welcome to Just Hair Me Out, a podcast about love, life, and hair. I'm Barbara. I've spent over 38,000 hours coloring hair.
Hi, I'm Demetra, and I've spent over 1,000 weeks with scissors in my hands.
With 50 clients a week in our chairs and 22 years on our feet, doing hair is not our hobby, it's our hustle. We've navigated salon politics and then opened salon suites of our own in 2020. We choose dogs over kids, skinny marks over beer, and we've only fired 3 clients each. Welcome back to Just Hair Me Out. Today we want to talk about clients we can't forget. So there's a lot that we really like. There's a few that we don't.
Yeah.
And we just thought, let's talk about all of our clients and why hairdressers know so much about so much because of all the people we talk to.
Right.
So it's between Demetra and I, we have some like amazing, interesting people that come to us on the regular. And it's kind of like you feel a little fortunate to be able to have their undivided attention for an hour. It's kind of fun. And I came across this post on social media. I mean, it was meant to be funny, but it said, talk dirty to your hairstylist. And so the sentiments are things that like hairstylists love when their clients do, you know? So talking dirty to your hairstylist would be, it said, I'll pay your price and not ask for discount. Cut off as much as you need. Yes, I want to rebook. This is a really good one. I took a selfie and tagged you.
Ooh.
That's good. I just referred 3 friends. We love that, by the way, especially if you're cool because your friends are cool.
Right. Yeah. If you have a cool person referring someone and you're already vibing with your client, you know for sure that they're probably sending you people that are similar like them as well.
Exactly.
And it's the best, like, marketing for you, you know? People already kind of see what they're getting, so they want to come to you anyway.
Yeah. But, you know, you do also want to, like, find out what's up with that person first, because I've had people recommend people, and they're like, oh, yeah, that, you know, she's really nice. She met her in the grocery line, and she's a psychopath.
Right. I've had a few of those, too. Like, oh, someone stopped me on the street, and I gave her your name, but I know nothing about her. So if she ends up turning out being crazy or a non-tipper or asks for a discount, I didn't know her, but she loved my hair. So, you know, you have those too.
Yeah, you got to navigate the waters. But if they're buddies, that's a for sure.
For sure, yeah. I think so.
And the last one on this post was, I'll use the products you recommended. Of course, I want to sell you products. Of course I do. But also, like, if you get it elsewhere, I'm still glad that you're using really good stuff because it makes my work look better.
Yeah. And it's better for the hair, except the hair is in better condition.
We want you to look hot.
Happy. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
All right. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I just thought I'd open with that because, like, all the things you just love it when your client does like all these things.
Mm-hmm. So talking about, you know, the clients that we can't forget, right? Whether it be good or bad. I have a client, sadly, I haven't seen her in some time, and I don't know if she was an elderly woman. And I think some of the best, I would say this is more advice, but why I'll never forget her. She came into me weekly for blowouts. And she got her hair done, cut every 4 weeks, and longtime client. And one of the last conversations we actually had together was about don't wait to retire to travel and do the things you want to do. And she said what her and her husband, her late husband, had did was they waited till they retired, and they traveled the world. I mean, they went everywhere. And she said, as they got older, you know, the last 10 years, I mean, traveling the world, that's a lot of places to go to. She said their body hurt. It was hard to travel. It was hard to walk. It was harder to just enjoy everything, you know. And she said she wished that she did it opposite. Like when she was my age, traveled. And when she was young and healthy, because it would have made for easier and better experience. And then when she's older, she says now she wish she could just like stay home and relax and garden and just do things around like the house, you know. But and I just think that's some of the best advice, because I'm always trying to put off. I'm like, okay, I'll go on vacation next year. I'll do it here. I can't afford it right now. And she told me, the money's always going to be there. Your clients will always be there. And if they're not, you'll get new ones. She's like, do not sacrifice. Go do what you want to do. Start taking some time off. And that was probably 7 years ago that we had that conversation. And I mean, I'm just saying, and people hear this all the time, but I don't think they say it in that manner, you know, because your body hurts when you're older.
Yeah.
Right? You can't enjoy it as much.
I saw a really funny thing. You probably have seen it too. There's a picture that's circulating. People make memes out of it. And there's like an elderly couple in a gondola. You can tell it's in Italy. And there's like the person manning the gondola, you know, like using the oar or whatever you call it to push the boat.
Yeah.
And that person looks like they're kind of like trying not to laugh. And it's this beautiful surroundings, right? And, oh, gorgeous. And these two elderly people are just like mouth open, asleep.
I mean, that would be me now. I'm so exhausted now. So.
I know. Well, I got to bring up one other thing, though, about that. I went to Italy with my mom, and it was so much fun. But she, at the time, was still working. Like, it was near the end of, like, of her career, where she was, like, getting ready to retire. But because she was standing all day, she had, like, you know, a lot of pain in her feet. And I remember going to Italy, well, like Rome specifically. It's very like up and down, hilly.
And the brick streets, like they're bricks,
yes!
so it's hard to walk on. You know.
And food for thought, it's very hard even pulling a rolling suitcase on cobblestones that are thousands of years old. Anyway, still have to do it. But I remember just going from street to street or like walking the city, you have to go up like huge flights of stairs. And I remember at one point, like, she said, will you walk halfway up and see if that's the street we really want before I have to walk up? And I get it. Because when your feet hurt.
So cute.
I know. But yeah, there's so many things you don't even think about that when you're traveling, it's so much more fun and relaxing when you're not, you know, worried about physical pains. Just trying to find the right shoes to walk all day, you know, or something like that.
Right.
So, also, I just wanted to mention, you know, there's that, I can't remember the actual term for it, but like in psychology, they teach you that when someone touches somebody a lot, that that person subconsciously opens up, like they want to talk. Or it's like this false sense of intimacy or something. So you might like hardly know somebody, but because we're touching their hair and their head and their shoulders even, people really like share. It's besides the fact that we're like hilarious, fun, and great to talk to. But it's like this other thing.
We're awesome. You forgot. We're awesome.
We're awesome.
We're awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Demetra has a rockin' ass. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that there is such a hairstylist thing. And also people can kind of, you know, let out whatever they're thinking about because we don't know their family and their other friends necessarily. So we're like a safe bet. But I kind of like the overshare. I like a good.
I love the overshare. I love to listen. So when clients share with me, I think it's amazing. I mean, I just love to listen.
Yeah.
It's great, whether it's good, bad, they're having a bad day. We get a lot of that too. A lot of that energy we absorb.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad. So, you know.
Well, you know, often there's like really good conversations. Like, well, we're a safe space for many reasons, but also not having kids. I can't tell you how many people come in and they're like almost in tears and saying, do you think it's like I'm a bad person because I hate my kids? Like, no.
I get that a lot too.
Yeah.
I'll get like,
It is
I hate
hard.
my kids today. You know, they're like about on the verge to break down because they're so like upset that they even said that. And it's
Yeah.
like, you're safe. I'm not going to repeat it. Only on our podcast, but no one knows that we're talking about you. So, I mean,
No, but it is hard. It is very hard raising those kids. You're allowed to feel how you want to feel. So I used to work with this woman who I just thought she was like a little bit eccentric, but she loved talking to people and hearing their like life story. And people loved her because they felt so listened to. And at first I thought like, oh, is this like a tactic or something? And she's genuinely just really interested in people. It's not like a fake thing at all.
Me too. I think that's part of my job. I love it when they talk.
Yeah.
I have nothing interesting lately to say. I used to have a lot of fun stuff to say. I have nothing really anymore. Life's been really boring in a good way. So I love listening.
Yeah. And, but I learned from working with her and just listening to her communicate with people. Like she would come up with like the most interesting questions to ask them. And I was like, like open-ended questions where like whatever their cool stuff they know, like share, you know? Anyway, so I started doing that.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I just love those days when certain clients come in and you just have great conversations. I mean, you're hitting, like, it's not like that superficial level. It's like you guys get so deep, whatever it may be. I learned so much from my clients too, you know, what they do for a living or just their lifestyles. And yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a good part of it. So how about you? Do you what are some of your memorable moments with some clients?
Well, in trying to prepare for this episode, I was thinking I don't want to forget anybody that is memorable. Okay, that's a weird thing to say. But there's just so many interesting people I know. And for listeners, if you're not like in the Chicago area, Demetra and I have always worked in the North Shore area. And so that encapsulates like a really affluent area in the Chicago suburbs. And it might be like one of the best, I don't know who decides these things, the best places to live or most expensive or whatever. But there's also Northwestern University and Kellogg, the School of Management. So there are just so many interesting people around. A lot of the people that I find so fascinating are professors at either Kellogg or Northwestern. Really, really fun people. Anyhow, and you would think, or maybe I'm being pessimistic, I might think that people are like snooty or something because they're academics and, we're hairdressers and that isn't as academic.
Yeah, we're more
But
artsy.
there's so many cool people, though. So many cool people. And they're so fun to talk to.
So fun. So many different levels, too. You know how you're saying, like, the academics. Like, I have my one client she's a professor. And it's funny because when she comes in, a professor in psychology, though, right? So it's interesting because every time she comes in, she starts talking to me. Before I know it, I'm like, oh, my God, we're in a session. I always forget, and I love her for it, but it's like she'll start asking me questions like, so Demetra, how have you been? What's going on? Like, she's so calm when she speaks, and before I know it, I'm like, she did it again. She is checking on me and making sure I'm okay, and I love it. But again, I hear some really cool stories too because she's been a professor forever. She's like pretty much done. She's in retirement stage. But I just love her. She's just the kindest, sweetest, but she's always checking on me. That's what I love without like knowing that she is.
I have a couple therapists and I feel like almost like we're in a session sometimes. And they're like, well, what do you think made you feel that way? And I was like,
It's great. No joke. I probably have, besides my professor client, I have like 5 other ones that are all therapists. I had even talked to my one. She's one of my favorites. You know who you are. And she has amazing hair. And I hate saying favorites, but it's only because she knows how to really do her hair good and on her own. So people stop her all the time. And I think over the last 15 years, she's probably sent me like 20 people that she doesn't even like know because people stop her on the street because she does such a good job. But she's a therapist as well. And we were talking one day. She's like, D, she's like, I should just come in here like every week for a blowout, and we'll swap. We'll like barter. Like, we'll have a session and we'll like kill two birds with one stone. You could get a session in and I'm getting my hair done. And I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. And I probably shouldn't be saying that because that might not be even like legal or something, but it's not illegal technically, but I'm just saying it's, not so bad, but I love her. I'm like, man, that is like such great thinking.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
So we have some great clients, right? Good conversations. And then you also have the clients that, need your policies for cancellations and then don't show up and then don't want to pay the no-show fee. I mean, that's really shitty too.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen often. I've never been so disrespected, but this happened to me recently, Barbara.
Yeah.
That someone did that and I was so taken back. I sent out 48-hour reminders, 24-hour reminders, and I get it. Shit comes up, if you get sick or you get stuck at work or something, but, I'm running a business as well. And for you to just, if I went somewhere, even if I didn't want to pay it and I missed it, out of respect and for business for that person, you pay it. I want to be able to go back and see that person unless you plan on like never coming back. And that's why you're not going to, pay your no-show charge. But yeah, I would say this person's going to be on my memorable list. I'm not going to forget them. And it's now in a not so pleasant way. It was also very hurtful too, because it's like, wow, you don't respect me and my job. I'm trying to run a business. I have a wait list. Okay, my first opening, it's June 10th. My first availability is like August 31st. And I have a wait list. Like, that's why I send out these reminders. I could have filled it. Even if you gave me, 5 hours, I would not have charged you. Give me enough time so I could at least fill it then.
Yeah.
So it's just, you have those clients too that make it like, wow, total disrespect for us and our career. We have a career. We're running a business,
Yeah.
So.
Well, it kind of reaffirms, like, don't make an appointment when you, like, think that you're going to probably be able to finagle out of staying later at work or doing this or that. Like, do your day off. Just knowing that.
Yes. If there might be a meeting that's going to maybe pop up or come up, maybe you shouldn't have made this appointment. I actually saved this episode, and I'm wondering if you want me to play it right now so the viewers can listen to it, because it's exactly what we're talking about. Do you mind if I just share it really quickly?
Yeah.
Just to also get like a perspective of like our industry and what we have to go through. It's not just Barbara and I talking about this. And this is a real thing that in our profession, how a lot of times we're just so not respected as professionals, right?
This video on TikTok and asked me to stitch it, and it's this girl that is talking about how her hairdresser has stopped working evenings and weekends and she has to take PTO to go see her. Well, I started doing hair when people would ask you when you were going to get a real job. There's into this industry, and I hear people that are taking weekends and evenings off. I feel nothing but happiness for you. The hairdresser that I have been wanting to see forever to get my hair cut, but we work the same schedule. So do you know what I'd have to do to go see her? I'd have to take time off. End of the day, I really challenge you, if you are somebody who feels this way, if you are somebody who feels upset because your hairdresser doesn't accommodate your hours, I really challenge you to ask yourself why. I'm not going to go into the fact that we don't get PTO. When we get sick, it is literally the most inconvenient thing ever. We have to save up to take time off. We stand on our feet all day. We use toxic chemicals. The list goes on and on. This was something that it was really hard to get past when I first started doing hair, was how people never looked at me equally as my client. So thankful that I have a clientele now that does not feel that way. If you are somebody that thinks that we don't deserve the same thing as you, why? Sit in that for just a second and ask yourself, why? Why aren't we allowed to have weekends and evenings?
That came across yesterday, and I loved what she said, because it's like, hold on, wait a minute. If it doesn't align, I mean, you take time off to go to the doctor. You take time off to plan anything else that you need to. And again, if it doesn't align in your schedule, there's plenty of other talented people that you could go to. But when you get the backlash, I would say 99% of my clients are friggin' amazing, and I love them all. But you will have that one or two who don't work enough hours. I work 3 days a week, right, Barbara?
Yeah.
And to most people, they'll be like, wow, only 3 days. It's 3 days behind the chair. You see me. I do 10, 12-hour days, except for on Saturday. People forget that that's just behind the chair. I work more hours than a full-time person. You know, I make sure. And the reason I do that is, you know, if someone wants to come in before work, they have me. Someone wants to come in after work, they have me. Then I have my people in the middle of the day, and I still give them a Saturday. So if you sit here and say that you can't make an appointment for whatever reason, I'm not going to get mad. But I do my best in those 3 days, right? I'm so on the verge. I'm ready to just start working 9 to 4. That's it. And no weekends. I'm ready to just say, fuck it. I want to start living my life too. I've been doing this for 25 years. And it's no disrespect to my clients because I love you and because of you, I am in business. But at what point when you give your all, like I said, I come in early, I stay late, I give up my free time days, you know. I sometimes work 4 or 5 days a week, right? Just to accommodate people. And another memorable moment and client used to tell me, stop doing that. A client of mine told me, stop doing that. You are teaching them to take advantage of you. And then you're going to be mad and then you're going to be resentful. You have to be the best version for Demetra when you're behind your chair. So that's another memorable client who I love also, who told me that. Like, she was just so cool and was like, you have to take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I just was interesting that I was scrolling through and I came across this other hairstylist. I don't know who she is, but kudos to you. So if you listen to our podcast, you were just aired and we love you.
This needs to be talked about a little bit. Part of the reason we want to bring these things up is because I can imagine, I'm sure there are some jobs that people have where you cannot predict your life. Like, things are just really up in the air.
Like if you're a doctor, you work in the ER room. Gunshot wound comes in. You know, you're about to leave work. Guess what? You're staying because you're attending to this person.
Or,
right?
You know, the things where you're essentially on call all the time. So if you're in a job where you have no idea if when you make the appointment, you're going to be able to actually make it to the appointment, you really should do a little bit of research and find places that are like a chain where the people are paid hourly and not 100% commission. So any 100% commission scenario, or definitely people who have a salon suite like us, because then it won't be as big a deal.
Right, and it aligns more for your lifestyle, because then if you can't come in last minute, you know, you also have to remember when you just don't show up for that appointment, I'm not going to be able to get you back in for another 2.5 months. Anyways, too. So you're probably more aligned with a place that you could just get in with whoever you want then.
Yeah.
If you're going to cancel last minute like that. And that's okay. You know, that's okay. There's no judgment here. And I know people are going to turn around and say, oh, you know, look at them. They're on there. They're bitching or complaining and you chose this job and this and that. And it's not about choosing. We love what we do. We're not complaining about standing and inhaling chemicals and, you know, but it's the things that everyone else doesn't see behind just doing the hair.
Yeah.
You know, that comes with it, that it's
And when you're
real.
in customer service, you feel like it's rude to speak the truth sometimes.
Right. So that's why we're here to speak the truth, not just on behalf of us, but our fellow people that ask us to have these conversations. They're not always coming from us. We're not the bitches, you guys, just so you know. We're the middleman. We're just kind of like sharing the stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. While we're on the sort of clients who are memorable for not the best reasons, I had somebody once, it was like a consultation appointment. And she came in and I was like, oh, great, a new friend, you know? And so I'm like going over and talking to her, trying to get to know her. There was something wrong with this person's personality.
Red flag?
Red flag. And she asked me my pricing which I was kind of surprised. I think at the time I was working at a place where perhaps they didn't put it on the website. I'm not sure. Anyway, I told her the price of what she was wanting done, and she almost fell out of the chair. And she said, well, I know people who would do that for half that. And what makes you so much better than them? And she was just like, blink, 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 waiting for me to answer.
That's so rude.
And so awkward. And when it takes you off guard,
maybe
like
my education, maybe the years of what I've been doing, maybe, there's a lot of factors of why you're charging what you're charging.
well, when someone like is face to face with you that you don't know who says that to you, even though you may be a person of many words, you're just like speechless.
Taken back.
Yeah, because like, well, clearly
Sure.
go to the other person. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't care. But like to sit here and question me, again, we've said this before. I'm sorry, I don't go to Target and say, why are you charging more than Walmart for the exact same CeraVe lotion? I mean,
Yeah. Well, let's go to my little list because I'm sure I'm going to jog your memory too.
yes.
So I don't want to say names because I feel like that's just rude. But and these are all people who I think are just amazing and I love them.
Okay.
So I have a couple judges. One is family court, and the other is criminal, I believe.
Ooh.
Anyway, so interesting to talk to. I also find the legal profession fascinating and also very backwards in a way. Like, to me, it's not as logical. But, I didn't go to law school. So there you go. I know a woman who is a super badass litigation attorney. And she is so interesting and will sometimes parts of her job once they're already done and it's okay to talk about. So fun. Corporate attorneys are interesting, very interesting. Also, don't mention to them if you have Vicodin in your purse or
What? Why? Oh, you mean while you're working?
no, I'm just saying
Oh.
I didn't think that through before I said it. But like they're always like very proper and straightforward people.
Oh, yeah.
So like don't joke about edibles. Don't say that you save your Vicodin for a rainy day. Because I'm telling you, Demetra, they will say that's not really appropriate. At Walgreens there's a spot, there's just like a big box for the prescriptions you're done with to dispose of. Yeah, it's a real thing. And I said,
Who's ever done with their prescriptions? I mean, I'm just curious. I can't get enough of mine.
well, it's supposed to be like it's not good to put them down the drain, or
Oh,
if you throw
right.
them out, someone else could get them. I don't know.
Right. Or like a dog or stray cat or something.
Yeah.
We don't want to harm the animals because, me, I'm an animal lover.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like the battery thing. Oh, the batteries. Remember I was telling you? I was like, man, because I was thinking about getting rechargeables. And I was like, where do I throw my batteries out? And I went to Lowe's the other day, and there's a bin for your batteries. Love
Cool.
it.
I
It was
never knew
great.
that.
Me neither. So, just trying to be a little, earthly conscious here, people. If you need somewhere to throw your batteries, Lowe's has a bin to put batteries in. Love it.
And if you're done with the Vicodin and you think that you don't want it to stay in your house, you can mail it to us.
Well, I'm allergic to all kind of codeine. I probably shouldn't have said that on air because now someone probably who wants to kill me knows how. But Barbara would take it. Barbara would take all your codeine. Give it to Barbara.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, she's not. Okay, moving forward.
Okay. Anyway, know who to joke with about those things and know who not to.
Yeah, it is true. There's some clients I could say the F-bomb with, and then there's other ones I'm like making sure like my grammar is super proper.
I know a woman who was a Chicago police officer. So interesting. I also know somebody who is a professor of sociology. She does speeches and presentations about like whiteness in America and
Okay.
privilege and inequalities that are still in effect and knowing the history of it. She's really, really interesting.
That's really, really cool. I would love to pick her brain one day. Maybe we could get her on the show.
Yeah.
Do you think she'd like to get
Ooh.
in the show? No, because you know what? Especially in today's day and age, I feel like we've had so much division, so much more than ever. I feel like we're moving backwards. Maybe she can help clear some things up with, like, because if she knows the history so well,
Yeah.
right? Maybe that can, help, like, maybe clear some things up.
Absolutely. She's going on the list.
She put her on the list.
All right.
Yeah.
I know people who have like PhDs in like economics, marketing professors. Ooh, another one. I'm glad I wrote these all down because I can't remember them all. A professor of political science and gender and sexuality.
Interesting.
Super interesting.
That's a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it should be nowadays.
I also know
Yeah.
somebody who teaches at the Art Institute. And I think she's just absolutely amazing. She's an artist, and I know she sells a lot of her stuff, watercolor. And she taught me,
Nice.
I had no idea, so interesting. So a watercolor painting is like several layers. You let it dry, you come back, there's another layer. And she was saying, like, sometimes they can be like hundreds of layers.
Really?
And she gets her paper from France because you need the perfect kind of paper to have those overlays over and over and over, and it doesn't damage the paper.
The paper. Yeah, it makes sense. For sure.
Really, really interesting. Oh, a horse trainer.
Nice.
I don't know anything about horses, and they are so interesting. I know a veterinarian. I may have called her once off hours, which is really inappropriate. But I was like, hey, girl, can I ask about my dog?
I've called my gynecologist because she used to be my client and my gynecologist, so I had her actual phone number. And I text her. And she was awesome. She picked up the phone. She even called me back. How awesome was that?
Oh, that's so nice. Medical doctors are also
Oh.
really interesting.
I have so many doctors, from anesthesiologists, plastic surgeons, brain surgeons, neurologists. I have so many doctors. And I love talking to them because I'm always asking them questions, and they probably think I'm like a weirdo.
Yeah. Well,
I love
that's
the science behind it. I'm always like, all right, well, what happened when you were like picking their brain with that camera? What happened?
fertility doctors too. Super interesting. And I've met a couple people who work for pharmaceutical companies in like drug development. That's
Oh,
really
wow.
interesting.
That is cool. Yeah.
I met a woman recently who had been a nurse for quite a while and then went back to school to study hospital administration. Okay.
Really?
It's way more than like the legal system, where
Okay.
the medical system, I think it is like absolutely insane. It's like funny money, making up numbers. But it's very interesting trying to understand where exactly the big problem is in that in America. Anyway, but that's a problem. And I've learned so much from nurses, ER nurses,
Oh, yeah. They're so chill.
ICU
Like-
nurses.
Oh, I ask questions, and they're always like, you're fine. You're fine. Or don't worry about that. They're just so chill. And I'm like, hello, people. Like, what do you mean? They're just always like, I guess the stuff that we think can be alarming, they just find it to be, no, that's normal. That's
Yeah,
normal. That's
you'll
normal.
live.
I'm like, okay.
So one of the best things I've ever learned from nurses. One person told me this, and I was like, mind blown. And then I brought it up to other nurses, and they're like, "Oh yeah, of course." I don't think this is common knowledge that when you are going to have surgery, and you know you're going to have to take narcotics afterward. You know, when they prescribe narcotics, they almost always prescribe or tell you to go get your own stool softeners. And she told me that she makes sure that everyone in her family, her parents, everybody, you start the stool softeners like a day or two before you have surgery. Ever since that, I feel like things have been so much easier. Let's not
Like-
talk about that further, but you know.
Right. Like, literally. Okay. Right.
Anyway, that's what I learned from that.
Okay.
Also, ER nurses will roll their eyes at people when they come in and they weren't wearing a seatbelt.
Oh, yeah. That's a big thing. They get so mad at that, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
I'm huge on seatbelts.
Yeah. Somebody told me about that, and
Yeah.
well, I mean, of course they treat them just the same, but, you know, she's like, oh, yeah, this one didn't have a seatbelt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went through a phase where I was really annoyed by them. This is a whole other topic, but I'm short and big in the chest area, and it's always like cutting off my neck. I feel like it's like choking me, or it's like in a weird spot on the ladies, you know? Anyway, but she convinced me. She was like, girl, don't you dare get caught being one of those people. I know a Broadway star. Aww. She was a Broadway star for maybe 5 or 10 years. I know she stopped because she was having kids and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So fascinating. Coolest person. Oh my gosh. She's going to have to be on the podcast, by the way.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Do you know any professional musicians?
Yes.
I think they're interesting. I like learning about the different instruments.
So cool.
Food for thought, something I've learned is that when composers back in the day wrote music, they would like indicate how many strings, how many wind instruments, this and that. And the strings used to be made of animal gut, like, you know, hundreds of years ago. And so the ones now are steel.
I didn't know that.
They're louder. So there's so much debate among like this person's version of that piece or that person's version, because different conductors or people that would organize all of it disagree on how, like, what was meant to be the louder part, or, you know.
Sure. Yeah, because it probably gives it a different type of, it translates differently.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
And one lady I know, she had brought her, you know, a lot of these instruments they have are so crazy expensive. If they actually bring them, they do bring them inside, because you can't just leave that in your car.
I have 3 billionaire clients.
Oh, you do?
Billionaires. They are billionaires. Yeah.
Do
I'm not saying their names.
Well, that's cool.
3 separate ones. I'm not saying in the same family either.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, I mean, I think that's very rare, because what is it? Like, maybe there's only like 1,500 in the whole world, and I know 3.
Interesting.
Well, they're my clients.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. I mean, it's kind of cool.
It is very cool.
No, I mean, I could care less if you have no pot to piss in or you have all the pots to piss in. I'm still going to treat you the same, but I just thought that one was that's an interesting one.
You got all the pots.
Yeah.
News anchors.
Yes, I've had a few of those.
They are very interesting people.
Yeah. I used to have one, God bless her, that used to sometimes come in. She would have her laptop with her, and she would have her whole setup. And my ex-partner would be trying to highlight her hair, and she'd be like, hold on, wait, a story just broke. I need to get on right now. And we were always just like sitting there waiting for her. We're like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And she would like get on, or she would go to the back and like go in the bathroom for like 10 minutes. She'd like be with her microphone and
oh my gosh.
But, you know, good for her. I mean, she tried hard to make it work, you know, her appointments. And then, I mean, if a story broke right there and then, she'd have to get on it. That probably happened at least a handful of times in like the 15 years of like me knowing her.
I had an FBI agent for a while.
Cool.
I thought she was so interesting. And I kind of wonder if I asked too many questions.
I mean, probably not. She was just profiling you anyway, so it doesn't matter.
She was super cool. I don't know if she relocated or if I was asking too much questions.
Oh.
Speech language pathologists.
Yes.
Super interesting. Oh, also like clinical neuropsych, like the people that don't see a patient like ongoing. They see them for a certain number of sessions to diagnose issues with brain chemistry or like personality disorders. That stuff. I feel like that is what I would really want to do if I had gone further in psychology. I find that really interesting. Yeah. the whole like mind brain thing, because your brain is physical. And yeah. Oh, and school teachers. And they make me realize from their stories that I could never be a school teacher, and that it might have been a very good choice for me not to have children.
That too. But do you find they just have such a certain demeanor about them? They're all just so kind, calm, sweet. Every school teacher that I know. Have you noticed? I think it really takes a certain personality, just like it does with the nurses. All my nurse clients as well, they're the same. Like they're almost kind of like hairstylists. All hairstylists are kind of like the same. If you meet one, you kind of met them all. We have that very kind of artsy eccentricness to us. We could be very introverted, yes, very extroverted at the same time. Like a nurse, they're very just kind of calm and chill. And then you have school teachers that are all just like so sweet.
So once I had an appointment with someone brand new. I'd never met them before. And she came in, and at the time I was working in a salon where most people would like take off their shirt and put a smock on instead, just to be sure that like we don't get any color on anything, whatever. So she comes out and she's like, says to the receptionist, "Is it okay if I leave my dress in there?" And we're like, "Oh, sure." You know, they'll keep an eye on it, make sure no one wears it out. She sits down and she's like, "Oh, nice to meet you." She's like, "I'm getting married today." And she had her wedding dress in the changing room.
Wait, what? Wait, you just met her.
Yeah.
It was a date. You know, some people, they're just like, hey, it's another day, man. I'm just getting married. It's all good.
She was like very kumbaya. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about it, but I was just like,
I
really?
love that.
Because I have some people like 2 years ahead of time, like, let's prep my hair for my wedding day, you know?
Yeah.
And she, I think they were going to just for the piece, but then they were having some like reception somewhere. But I was like, oh my God, she's just like, make it cute, make it more blonde, whatever. So,
I love her. That is so great.
And I never saw her again. I'm not sure she even lived in town. It might have been.
Maybe she didn't, right? That's
Yeah.
probably why she was, you know, maybe his family was from here and they decided to have the wedding here.
Yeah.
I do have also a very memorable client. She was a trip. Oh my God. Every time she would come in, she would have either a beer in her hand or a little 4-pack of those wines. You know, like the little, every time. She'd be like, oh my gosh, like sometimes she would come in wasted, like drunk, but I loved her. She was like, yeah, you know, I met some people on the train and the Metro coming back in from downtown, because like she would take the Metro. And she's like, they gave me a beer. And I'm like, oh, okay, that was like the first time. Next time she comes in, she has like a 4-pack. Hey, D, you want one? And before I knew it, it was like a habit. So like the first time I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like you met people on the train and they gave you a beer? Like, you know, I think that was her introduction to me. Like, hey, I like to drink when I get off of work.
Oh my gosh.
So she was great though. I loved every time it was something, you know?
Yeah. When I worked in the city, I remember there were a decent amount of people who would like bring in even just like not like a Starbucks cup, but like a to-go cup that had, for sure, they were like giggling and like pouring their liquor in with some soda.
Oh yeah, the airplane size.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they would be like,
Boop, boop.
I'm like, I saw you. I just saw that. I mean, no judgment.
No judgment, but it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Girl.
Yeah. Oh, I had another client that, and I loved her because she was like in her 60s, and every time she would come in, she would vape.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't cigarettes. It was marijuana.
Oh.
And she was always stoned. And she was like in her 60s. And she's like, do you mind? She's like, it doesn't have a smell and it's not like cigarette vaping. She would tell me. And I'm like, okay. Like, whatever.
Well, you know what's great about that? When the clients are drunk or high, they always love their hair at the end.
You know what? That's true. That is, you know, right? There's no extra pleasing to do. They're just like happy to be sitting in your chair, you know?
Yeah. I did say to one person, I'm like, I'm going to text you in 2 days and see if you like your hair. Because I did what you asked, but still.
Oh, yeah. It's a real thing. People are wasted sometimes when they come in, believe it or not.
Also, I'm sure you've seen people like this, like going back to the changing room. They are just not somebody who feels embarrassed about being naked. So they don't close any curtains or doors or anything. They just take their shirt off. Yeah. Oh, that is you.
Yeah.
I had a woman, and this happened on multiple occasions. This wasn't just like a one-off. When she would come in, I would generally like go up to the front desk and like wait for somebody like outside of the changing room so that I was there when they were done. And she would not have the curtain closed or anything and just be hanging out in there. She was older and somebody who loved to tan. And trust me, I get it. She had a lot of wrinkles because of the sun loving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she had the most amazing face because she had a lot of work done. She was beautiful. I do not mean to be rude. She so beautiful. And she had super wrinkly chest, super wrinkly arms, and the smoothest, enormous implants.
What in the...
I think, well, of course, okay, in case you don't know, people, if you have really perky breast implants, you don't really wear a bra because they don't go anywhere or do anything. They don't need to be held in, is what I'm saying. So she's one of those people who would never wear a bra. And so she would like take her off her top. And I know that's like not that big a deal, but I was like, wow. I mean, it is like the skin was like stretched to the max. And I'm like, that it doesn't even look that amazing because of everything, you know.
Right, because that was so smooth and everything else was kind of wrinkly. It's like, well, that's the whole thing. That's why I'm like, you know what? I'm done doing Botox and shit because I'm like, my neck and chest, no matter how much sunblock, especially my chest, and the way I'm a side sleeper, so I wake up, the grooves are so deep. Like, I need like a freaking chisel to like, roll these bad boys out. And I could care less. I'm aging. It is what it is, you know, but you're right. It's like people see your hands now. And my client said the other day, she's like, oh, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z. And while I was there, the doctor was like, oh, but don't forget we have to address your hands then. She's like, I didn't know my hands were an issue. And I'm like, yeah, you know, so it's like if you're super smooth in one area, what about all the other spots?
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe I'll just, you know.
That's the thing with
tone it down and
hair color. People talk about this a lot. Like if somebody gets to a certain age, you kind of got to stop dyeing their hair super dark. And that's a mistake. Because I'll tell you why. It looks so wrong when there's a lot of wrinkles happening and then like super dark hair.
I don't know, man. My mom looks so good. Her hair is darker than, she's probably like your color.
Yeah.
And she looks amazing. She's 73 years old and a very, I hate saying this, Mom, don't be mad at me, but you got a lot of wrinkles. You know, you're 73. She's never had any work done and she loves the sun. She's Mediterranean, you know, and she looks amazing with her dark hair.
I'd say more like 80, 90 is where it looks really bad.
Okay.
But here's the thing. It's almost like you don't know what doesn't look right. Like how for a lot of people, because we look at each other like in the eyes or the mouth, if someone doesn't have eyebrows, you don't automatically know what's wrong. You just know something's wrong. You're like, wait, what?
Right.
I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we're going to have to circle back on this one because there's so many more interesting and awesome people and not even just our situations. Maybe something that happened in a salon. You know, that with other people. Maybe we'll circle back with this one.
Yeah, because we might have forgotten the memorable people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, because it's memories and our memories shot.
Yes.
Because we're at that stage, yo. Yep.
One last little thing I just wanted to say real quick. Because as I was listing off all those people and their really, really interesting jobs and careers and whatnot, I know also so many women who are homemakers or stay-at-home moms. And like run their house like a ship, and they are so interesting and amazing, and everybody has their background of what they studied and what they know, and I just wanted to say that on top of everything else. Like it's just really fascinating to like rub shoulders and be able to have conversations with people who have, you know, such specific careers, but also like so many really awesome women.
Yeah, I mean, even if they don't have their careers right now or chose to be, whether it be stay-at-home moms or just a homemaker and not have children, most of our type of clientele still have that education and did something, you know?
Yeah.
It's just because where we work, you know, we're in a very affluent area.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see and to talk to them about, even how do you feel about that? Most of them,
Yeah.
they love it. But again, the ones that are very highly educated also, like you said, run a very tight ship. I learned so much, like organizing and
Yeah.
meal planning too. I love that.
I've met some people who are like not working at the moment, but like, well, they're raising kids, I mean, it's a full-time job and a half. It's 24/7.
Even
But
more so. Yeah.
have background in like nutrition or dietitians, and I just find that stuff really fascinating too.
Oh, yeah.
Or physical therapy.
It's all great. I just
So
want to
interesting.
learn. Give me information. Anything and everything. I want to know it all.
Yes.
Bring it. Bring
Anyways.
it.
All right. Well, we are just about out of time, and so we will catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe or follow. And please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Lastly, follow us on social media for clips of past and future episodes. All our accounts are listed in the show notes below. Thanks so much for listening.